But we did also want to turn to some big news in the Middle East, as there have been a lot of developments overnight. So we wanted to just give you some footage here. These are some strikes that have happened within just the 24 hours here. And here's the latest. An Israeli strike on a refugee camp in North Lebanon has killed Hamas official Saeed Atallah Ali and his family. That's according to the militant group. They said that this morning. The early morning strike came a day after another Israeli airstrike cut off a main highway linking Lebanon with Syria, leaving two huge craters on either side of the road. Israel began a ground incursion Tuesday into Lebanon against the Hezbollah militant group. The Israeli military says 9 soldiers have died in the conflict in southern Lebanon. So a lot to break down here, as there always is with this ongoing developing story. Let's bring in Christopher Neiweem. He's a GOP strategist and an Iraq war veteran. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
So if you think about what Israel has done within the past month or so, they've effectively wiped out the chain of command with Hezbollah. Based on your experience having served, how difficult is it to plot these missions and to target these leaders?
Well, it's their expertise. And they know, they have intelligence. This is where counterintelligence comes in as well, about leadership priority, locations, and they're continuing to gather intelligence, especially from assets on the ground. So in terms of identifying them, they're able to do that. Some of the challenges come in with collateral damage, looking at civilians, and most of all is other enemy assets in the area, right? So again, it's one of these things, the idea of cutting off the head of a snake. So this is an example of the risk that sort of Israel is taking, with the goal of decimating that leadership, creating enough damage to the infrastructure of it so that they're more secure. I mean, that's the whole, it is a gamble, but it is sort of the next step in Netanyahu's plan. And so far they are having some of those successes with eliminating the chain of command. So far the risk is worth the reward in terms of this leadership structure diminishment.
And Israel has issued warnings saying if you're in certain areas to evacuate. But when you are planning something like this, these strikes, how can you avoid civilians? Is it at all possible?
You can't always do that. I mean, you look at some of the early lead up around going into Lebanon and operating in some of these areas. Israel contacts these villages and makes various attempts to get them to evacuate. It's one of these things, whether it's a foreign policy conflict or an emergency zone, whether it's weather or climate related. In this case, it's war related and conflict related. To get out of those areas, they're extremely dangerous, and so you can't, and that's the difficulty. We've seen that in the global war on terror, and it's part of the calculation that many of these national leaders have looking into this. No one particularly enjoys this type of foreign policy conflict from an electoral standpoint, but again, it gets back to that risk versus reward scenario, and what Israel is trying to gain 60 days from now, 90 days from now, 6 months from now. There's a larger foreign policy sight picture that they're looking at, and so trying to avoid civilian casualties, not always able to do it, but they have engaged in early village notification for evacuations.
And we are approaching the anniversary of October 7th attack. What do you anticipate could happen in just 2 days here?
Well, anything could happen. I mean, we know that Iran is a sort of this proxy regional force that is behind a lot of the support for Hezbollah, the networks, the financing. We've seen this dating back to the Iraq War and decades earlier, Iran-Iraq War. You know, and that's part of this whole geopolitical chess game. Is what is their next move? Israel has strong anti-ballistic missile systems. The U.S. I mean, in terms of the technology, I think we're in a good position. But again, it depends on how aggressive these nation states want to get. No one wants to have a nuclear conflict. No one wants to have a sort of massive expansion. It's kind of a game of positioning. So I think it's all eyes on Iran, and also activating the U.S. foreign policy structure. Should they get more aggressive, I think we'll see an administration that's even a little more tepid on this be more involved. So it is kind of a wait and see. But I think for now, Israel's in a good spot.
And we are awaiting Israel to retaliate from those Iran ballistic missile strikes that we saw just 2 days ago, launching 180 missiles into Israel. When do you think we could anticipate that? And at what scale could we anticipate this could be? Is it going to be a similar retaliation, or what do you think that would look like?
It could escalate. It depends on impact, and it also depends on the extent that these parties are having communication. Some of that seems to have broken down over the last few weeks. We've had a lot of criticism of Prime Minister Netanyahu internally in the nation in terms of capitulating to some of these demands related to hostages, et cetera. I think his instincts were correct to follow this trajectory, but that's really difficult. And that will also gauge more decision making related to what these groups do. I mean, if you're a Hezbollah leader, you understand that your life expectancy will be cut shorter depending on the type of continued military campaigns they try to plot and plan. So a lot of it is wait and see, but I think it depends on how Iran positions himself, postures himself, and essentially what comes out of some of these skirmishes and what Israel's policy continues to be.
And my last question for you, when we did see Iran launching these missiles into Israel, we did see the United States help shoot down some of those missiles. If this does become a wider scale war, which a lot of people are fearing it will be, I wonder, what does U.S. involvement look like if that were to happen?
That's a great question. I mean, it's what does it look like and what should it look like? I mean, I think one of the difficulties of being for the Department of State in these regards is they understand that they have less control over the outcomes the warmer that these Cold Wars and these conflicts become, and so it's difficult to say. They're trying to sort of support Israel and position themselves, but I think U.S. foreign policy has been largely absentee. We've seen more U.S. troops sent to the region. We've got about 40,000 troops between Syria and Iraq in the region to be able to assist with counter surveillance, counterintelligence, and a variety of other logistical support. I would see it increasing by necessity, but it depends on electoral changes in the United States and overall temperament. But foreign policy is not a short-sighted thing. It is a long view, and I think that's what Israel's trying to take, and the Secretary of State should also be looking at that as well here in the U.S.
Christopher, appreciate your insight. Thank you so much for joining us bright and early this morning. We appreciate it.
Have a great day. Thanks for having me.
You too.